"What do you mean we're missing $300? Yarden Davis asked, pausing mid-step as his CFO handed him the latest weekly cash reports. The numbers didn't lie. One of the registers at Store 17, located in a busy strip mall on the edge of town, was consistently short. Not by much, but enough to raise eyebrows if it happened 3 times in a row. This was the 4th. Store 17 was one of 19 locations Yarden had built over the last 15 years. He started with just a food truck and a dream. He knew every inch of the business, but lately, things had grown too big for him to keep up with personally. District managers filtered info up, but some things got lost in translation, and that was the problem. He hated relying on second-hand reports. Numbers could be twisted. Excuses could be rehearsed, but looking someone in the eye, watching how they worked under pressure, that told the truth. "Don't tell anyone I'm going," Yarden said, folding the report and tucking it into his jacket, "and get me a new employee file. I'll be a trainee again." 3 days later, Yarden pulled into the parking lot of Store 17 in a beat-up sedan wearing a faded blue hoodie, old jeans, and a patched-up ball cap. His normally neat beard was scruffy, and his signature thick-rimmed glasses were replaced by thin wire ones. Nobody here had ever met him. He'd only visited this location once, years ago, and the entire staff had changed since then. It was a corporate chain now. Most folks assumed the owner was some guy in a suit 3 cities over. Perfect. He stepped inside and walked up to the counter where a tall, lean manager with a buzz cut was talking to a customer with one AirPod in. The manager waved lazily at Yarden. "You the new hire?" "Yeah, name's Jay," Yarden said, using the alias on his fake employee file. "I'm Travis. I run this place. You'll be shadowing Clare for the week. She's on Register 3. Try to stay out of the way. We're short-staffed as hell." Yarden nodded. "What happened?" 2 people quit last week. One walked out mid-shift, the other just never showed up. Travis shrugged like it didn't matter. Clare, the girl he was assigned to, looked to be in her early 20s. She had a quiet, focused energy and wore her hair tied back in a low bun. Her uniform was clean, her station organized, and she greeted every customer with a genuine smile. "Hey, I'm Clare," she said, glancing at him with a smile. "Jay," he replied. "You can just stick by me today," she said. "It gets hectic around lunch." He followed her for the next few hours as the lunchtime rush hit. She was sharp, quick with orders, polite even when customers were rude, and never cut corners. She even fixed a mistake another employee made without complaint, but something was off. Midway through the shift, a customer paid cash around $27 and Claire punched in the order, but when she opened the drawer, she hesitated. She slipped something under the register mat. Yarden didn't say anything. Not yet. By the end of the day, Travis pulled him aside. "You're doing okay. Keep showing up and maybe I'll throw you on solo next week. Claire's solid. Bit too soft for my taste, but she does her job." Yarden didn't reply. Instead, he waited until the store emptied out and approached Clare as she was finishing up her shift. "Hey," he said quietly, "I saw what you did earlier with the cash." Her face paled immediately. I can explain." "I'm listening." She looked around, then led him to the back near the stockroom where no one else was. "It was $30. I covered it with my own money." She swallowed hard. "The drawer came up short and I didn't want Travis to find out. He's been threatening to fire people for any little thing. I can't lose this job." Yarden narrowed his eyes. "Why was it short?" "I don't know. I swear I didn't take anything. I triple count everything. But sometimes the numbers just don't add up. I thought I made a mistake, so I just covered it. It's not the first time." "How often?" 3 times, maybe 4. I kept the receipts. I can show you." Yarden's stomach tightened. She wasn't stealing, she was plugging holes. He gave a slow nod. "Okay, don't tell anyone we had this talk. Are you gonna tell Travis?" "No, just keep doing what you're doing." That night, Yarden reviewed the camera footage from the last 2 weeks. He had access to everything, quietly logged in from the back office after hours. What he saw made his blood run cold. It wasn't Claire. It was another cashier, Austin. Young guy, flashy sneakers, always on his phone. He had a habit of leaving the register open a few seconds too long. And twice, Yarden watched him slip small bills into his apron pocket when no one was looking. And Travis. He walked past him both times, didn't say a word. Yarden leaned back in the breakroom chair, jaw tight. Now it made sense. Claire wasn't the problem. She was cleaning up after one. And the manager either didn't care or worse, he knew. Yarden rubbed his face. This was exactly what he'd feared. Tomorrow he'd see how far the rot went, and then he'd tear it out. The next morning, Yarden arrived early. The sun was just beginning to rise, casting dull gray light across the empty parking lot. The front doors were still locked. He sat in his car and waited, sipping coffee from a paper cup and watching as Travis pulled up 10 minutes late, tossing a fast food wrapper onto the passenger seat before stepping out. Once inside, Yarden got to work alongside Clare again. She looked tired but not surprised to see him already in uniform. She didn't mention their conversation from the day before, and neither did he. It was better that way for now. The morning moved slowly. Weekdays were quieter, mostly regulars on their way to work. Still, Yarden kept a close eye on Austin, who showed up right before opening, phone in hand, earbuds in, and not a word to anyone. He went straight to the register without clocking in until Claire reminded him. "Right. Forgot," Austin said, tapping the screen like it was beneath him. By noon, Yarden had seen enough. Small things. Patterns. He noticed Austin always chose Register 2 when he could. He handled cash-only orders himself, even when other employees offered to help. And every time he closed the drawer, he turned his body just slightly, barely noticeable unless you were looking for it. What stood out most wasn't what he did, it was how easy it had been for him to keep doing it. After lunch, Travis called everyone into the back for a quick meeting. 4 employees, Claire, Austin, a high schooler named Darnell, and a woman from the morning shift named Jenna, stood near the greasy utility sink while Travis leaned against a folding table, arms crossed. "I don't want to hear any more about register issues," he said. "If you mess up, you cover it. I'm not dealing with corporate breathing down my neck over pennies." Claire didn't say anything, but her posture stiffened. Austin didn't even look up from his phone. Yarden swallowed the reaction building in his throat. He needed more. One confrontation wouldn't fix anything if the culture under Travis was this poisoned. He had to keep watching. That night he stayed after close again, pretending to help Darnell clean out the fryers. He asked casual questions. "Is it always this light at night?" Darnell shook his head. "Nah. Thursdays and Fridays lines out the door, but we're always short-staffed. Jenna usually picks up doubles and Claire never says no." "You ever tell Travis you need backup?" Darnell gave a dry laugh. "Tell him, he'll just say work faster." "Last time I asked for help, he cut my hours the next week." Yarden nodded slowly. "What about Austin?" "Austin does whatever he wants. Travis likes him, I think. They hang out sometimes after close. One time I saw them leave in the same car. That confirmed it." Travis wasn't just ignoring the thefts he was covering for them, maybe even benefiting from them. The next morning, Yarden requested to work the register alone for half the shift. Travis waved it off. "Fine. Just don't screw anything up." He spent the next 3 hours entering every transaction meticulously. He double-counted every bill, logged every cash order, and kept quiet when Austin drifted by multiple times, looking irritated. When the drawer was counted at noon, the numbers were exact. Travis barely glanced at the sheet. Finally, someone who knows how to count. Yarden didn't respond, but the trap was set. During the evening shift, he asked to shadow Austin directly. "Want to see how the pros do it," he said casually. Austin rolled his eyes but didn't object. Yarden stayed close, too close. Every time Austin tried to step away from the register, Yarden was right there. By the end of the night, the cash drawer was untouched, balanced. Austin looked annoyed. "You always gonna hover like that?" "Just trying to learn," Yarden said, smiling. The next day, Yarden called out sick. But he wasn't resting. He spent the entire day reviewing a week's worth of security footage from the store's back office cameras, quiet, dim hours between shifts. No one noticed him. He logged the dates, the times, the transactions. He watched Austin take small bills 4 times. Once it was a 10, another time a 5, never more than 30 at once, always when no one was watching. Except once, in one clip Claire caught him, her face said everything, but she didn't report it. She just turned and kept working. That night, Yarden caught her outside during her break, sitting on the curb with a granola bar and a bottle of water. He sat down beside her. "You saw him, didn't you?" he said quietly. Claire didn't answer right away. "I can't prove anything," she finally said. "And if I say something, Travis will just say I'm making it up because I messed up once. He already thinks I'm soft. You think he knows? I think he doesn't care." She looked away. "Or maybe he's getting something out of it, I don't know. All I know is I'm tired of trying to fix problems I didn't cause." Yarden looked at her for a moment. "Why haven't you left?" She didn't answer right away. Then, "I take care of my brother. He's got seizures, can't be alone too long. I work mornings here and evenings at the pharmacy downtown. I can't risk a gap in pay." Yarden nodded slowly. "How long you been here?" 4 years. "I started when I was 19, was supposed to be temporary." She gave a quiet laugh. "You know how that goes." He did know, all too well. "You ever ask for a promotion?" I asked once. "They said they'd think about it. That was 2 years ago." Yarden stood. "Thanks for telling me." Claire looked up. "You're not just some trainee, are you?" He didn't answer, just walked back inside. The next morning, he arrived 2 hours early. He pulled Travis aside before the store opened. "Need to talk, privately." Travis led him into the office, annoyed. "What's this about?" Yarden shut the door behind them. "I know what's going on with the register," he said. Travis narrowed his eyes. "What are you talking about, Austin? I've seen the footage. I've seen the drawer come up short, and I've seen you walk right past it." Travis crossed his arms. "You don't know what you're talking about. You're some temp." Yarden reached into his coat and pulled out his ID, not the trainee one, the real one, the one with his name and title on it. Travis took one look and backed up a step. "You're the—" "Yeah," Yarden said. "I'm the one who signs your paychecks." Travis opened his mouth, then shut it again. "I've been here a week," Yarden said quietly. "I've seen how you run this place. I've seen how you treat people. I've seen how you protect thieves and threaten the ones trying to keep this place afloat." Travis tried again. "Look, I didn't save it." Yarden stepped closer. "You're done here." He walked out of the office and into the kitchen, where Claire was prepping the first batch of orders. He called everyone in. When the staff had gathered, Claire, Darnell, Jenna, and even Austin, Yarden stepped forward. "My name isn't Jay," he said. "It's Yarden Davis. I own this company." Silence dropped over the room like a heavy curtain. Austin took a step back. Claire just stared at him. "I came here because I heard things weren't right," Yarden continued. "And now I know they aren't. Some of you have gone out of your way to do the right thing, others haven't." He turned to Austin. "You've been stealing. Small amounts regularly. It's on camera. You're done here." "Permanently?" Austin looked to Travis, who was still standing at the office door, pale and wide-eyed. "And Travis," Yarden said without turning, "we'll talk outside." He turned back to the rest of the team. "Things are going to change here. Starting today." Travis sat across from Yarden in a cold, narrow conference room at the regional office 2 days later. His company polo looked wrinkled, and his knee bounced under the table with an anxious rhythm he couldn't seem to stop. Yarden didn't look angry. He looked exhausted. There was a folder in front of him, thick with printed reports, time card logs, and screenshots. He hadn't raised his voice once. He didn't need to. "You've been running that store for how long?" Yarden asked, not looking up. 3 years. 3 years, and you thought it was acceptable to let someone take cash out of the register? I didn't know he was doing that. Yarden finally looked at him. "You did. You watched it happen twice, and you said nothing." Travis's eyes shifted. "I didn't think he was taking it for himself. I thought it was just like mishandling or something. I told him to be more careful." "You never reported it. You never flagged the register shortages." You let another employee pay out of her own pocket to cover them. Travis leaned forward, voice rising slightly. I didn't tell her to do that. But you created the conditions that made her feel she had to. Yarden's tone was flat. You told your team they'd be fired for register errors, regardless of the reason. Then you ignored the actual theft happening right in front of you. What do you think that does to morale? Travis didn't answer. Yarden opened the folder and slid a page across the table. This is your employee turnover rate for the last 12 months. It's the highest in the region. Exit interviews mentioned stress, lack of support, and poor leadership. Most of them said they wouldn't recommend working at that location to anyone. Travis didn't touch the paper. His leg stopped bouncing. I gave you a store that was profitable, staffed, and stable. You've drained it of every bit of that, not by accident, by how you chose to lead or not lead. Travis swallowed hard. Are you firing me? No, Yarden said. We're terminating your contract. Effective immediately. There was no argument after that. By noon, Travis had cleared out his office and handed in his keys. A regional supervisor was sent to temporarily oversee the location while a permanent replacement was sourced. Yarden made sure the change was communicated clearly and privately to the rest of the team without drama, without spectacle. The next morning, Yarden returned to store 17 not as a trainee but as himself. Word had already spread. The atmosphere was tense, unsure. Clare was restocking the condiment station when he stepped inside. She didn't say anything at first, just looked at him, waiting. Can we talk? He asked. She nodded and followed him into the back where they stood near the walk-in freezer away from the others. I wanted to thank you, Yarden said. Not just for what you did with the register, for everything. I've been reviewing the last several months of operations. You've kept this place held together. Clare didn't immediately respond. Her arms were crossed and her face was unreadable. I know it's been hard, he added. You shouldn't have had to cover for anyone. That's not your job. I did it because I didn't want anyone else to get blamed, she said. It wasn't about covering for anyone. I understand that now, she hesitated. I didn't trust you at first. When you showed up, I thought you were just another person passing through who didn't care. That's fair. I let myself get too far removed. He looked around the small space. This isn't what I built the company to be. I lost track of what matters. Clare glanced at the floor. So what now? I want to make things right, but I can't fix everything overnight. What I can do is start listening to the people who actually know what's going on, people like you. She didn't soften, not entirely, but her voice lowered a notch. We're tired. Everyone's tired. It's not just about one thief or one bad manager. It's the way things pile up. No one's been checking in, no support. No one even noticed when we were down 2 people for weeks. I noticed, way too late. He reached into his jacket and handed her a sealed envelope. What's this? An offer. Assistant manager, full-time, salaried, comes with benefits, paid time off, and a performance bonus structure, if you're interested. Clare stared at it like it might vanish. Why me? Because you've already been doing the job without the title. You've kept your team from falling apart, held things together when no one else would. That's leadership. Her fingers tightened slightly around the envelope. And if I say no, then I'll find another way to support you. I didn't come here to pressure anyone into anything. Just to clean up the mess I let happen. Clare glanced toward the kitchen. They're going to need help today. We're still short. I'll stay for the shift. I can still run a register. For the first time, her posture eased slightly. You're probably rusty. Only one way to find out. They returned to the front, and Yarden stepped behind the counter while Clare took the headset to manage drive-through orders. The rhythm was shaky at first, but it found its footing. Customers came and went, unaware of the quiet transformation happening behind the counter. At one point, Darnell approached with a question about an equipment reset procedure. Yarden walked him through it without hesitation. You really used to do this, huh? Darnell asked. Every day for 5 years. Got the grease burns to prove it. Darnell gave a small nod, then returned to the fryer. By mid-shift, the team was moving more smoothly than they had in days. There were still gaps, still stress, but something was different, a sense of order returning. The absence of fear. Later that afternoon, Yarden sat with the remaining staff in the break room for a short meeting. No clipboard, no formalities. "I'm not here to pretend everything's fixed," he said, "but I want to hear what's not working directly from you, no filters." "No punishment." Jenna, the morning shift worker, spoke first. "We need more hours covered. I'm doing 6-day weeks just to keep things running, and I've got 2 kids." Darnell added, "The fryer's been acting up for months. We've sent 2 repair requests." Nothing ever happens. Claire didn't say anything. She just listened. Yarden took notes. Not on a laptop, just pen and paper. When the meeting ended, he stayed behind to clean the stockroom. Not because it needed it, but because it gave him time to think. This wasn't just about one store. It was a warning. A reminder that systems grow cold when people at the top stop looking underneath. He wouldn't let that happen again. He called his operations director that evening and scheduled a full audit of employee feedback channels across every store. No more relying solely on district managers. Every employee would have a direct line, a rotating schedule of check-ins, anonymous reporting tools, and an open-door policy that actually meant something. He knew it would take time. Culture didn't shift overnight. But it started with one thing: showing up. As he left store 17 that night, he passed Claire locking up. She didn't say anything, just nodded once. Not cold, not overly warm, but solid, steady. It was the beginning of something better, not because of a grand gesture, but because someone had finally stopped pretending not to see. It took 3 weeks before the first signs of real change began to show. After removing Travis and confirming the termination of Austin's employment, Yarden implemented a temporary leadership rotation at store 17. Each week, a different manager from a better-performing location came in to stabilize operations while a longer-term hiring process took place. It wasn't perfect. Every visiting manager had their own style, and some struggled to adapt, but it brought accountability back into the building. Claire accepted the assistant manager role, but only after negotiating a flexible schedule that allowed her to care for her younger brother without risking her hours. Yarden didn't hesitate. He had a policy rewritten to formally accommodate caregiver responsibilities across all locations, a change that would have never happened if he hadn't gone undercover. One afternoon, he returned to the store without warning. No clipboard, no entourage. Just a plain gray windbreaker and a coffee in hand. Claire was on a ladder near the back shelf, reorganizing the dry stock inventory. She looked over her shoulder when she heard the door close behind him. "Thought you were off the grid this week." "I was," he said. "Flight got canceled. Figured I'd make good use of the day." She climbed down and set the box cutter aside. "We're prepping for back-to-school rush. Orders are already up 12% from last week. Notice that. You adjusted the par levels?" "Had to. Jenna flagged it last Friday when we ran out of sandwich wraps during peak." Yarden raised his eyebrows slightly. "She catch that on her own?" "Yeah. She's been keeping tighter counts since we started rotating shift responsibilities." He followed her into the walk-in cooler as she checked off a few items on a clipboard. It was cold enough to make his breath visible. "You still down 2 heads," he said. "Hiring's frozen until the regional cap is lifted." "I know, we're managing, but it's tight." "You holding up?" Claire set the clipboard on the shelf and leaned against a crate of bottled water. "I'm fine, tired but manageable. I'm not doing 12-hour stretches anymore." "That helps." "Anyone else close to burning out?" Darnell's been quiet. "He's showing up, doing the job, but he's not talking much. I think he's still waiting for the other shoe to drop." Yarden nodded. "He's young. Probably used to adults saying one thing and doing another." A small silence settled between them, broken only by the low hum of the refrigeration unit. Claire crossed her arms. "What happens when the new manager starts? You already picked someone?" "Yeah, internal candidate from store 9. Name's Leslie." He watched her reaction. "She's not another Travis." Claire didn't shift. "And if she is, then I handle it, personally." "You planning to go undercover at every location?" "No," he said, but I'm building a team that will, quiet audits, real observations. No more relying on filtered data, she gave a slow nod. That would have saved us a lot of damage. Yarden didn't argue. They stepped out of the cooler together and passed the prep station, where Darnell was slicing bread with a focused expression. He didn't look up. Clare paused. "Hey," she said to him. "You good on that stack?" He nodded without speaking. She waited a moment, then moved on. Yarden followed her to the front counter where a short line had started to form. The rhythm was smoother now. Register drawers opened and closed cleanly. Orders matched receipts. Customers weren't waiting long. Still, there was tension in the air, not the kind rooted in disorganization. This one came from fatigue. "I'm rotating myself back to mornings next week," Clare said quietly. "I want to take pressure off Jenna. She's been covering early shifts too often. You think she'll speak up if she needs a break? She won't. She's the kind that keeps pushing until something gives." "Have you told her you see that?" Clare hesitated. "Not directly, might be worth saying, doesn't have to be a speech. Just something small." She didn't reply, but she didn't disagree either. Later that evening, after the dinner rush had passed and the dining room was empty, Yarden sat with Darnell at a corner table. The kid looked wary, arms folded across his chest. "You got a minute?" "Yeah. I know I wasn't really who I said I was when we first met." Darnell shrugged. "Didn't bother me. You've been showing up, doing the work, even through all the chaos. I need the job, I get that, but you've been quiet lately." Darnell looked toward the window. "I just don't know if it's real yet. All this change. People say stuff's different, but I've seen managers come and go, seen good people get burned. I'm not asking you to trust everything overnight. Then what are you asking? That you speak up. If something's wrong, if someone's struggling. You don't have to fix it, you just have to say something." Darnell's posture eased slightly. "Clare does that. She shouldn't be alone in it." He nodded once, then stood. "I'll think about it." Yarden watched him walk back to the kitchen without another word. The next morning, Yarden met with Leslie in person at a neutral site, a quiet cafe a few blocks from Store 17. She was in her late 30s, sharp-eyed, with a reputation for high standards but low ego. He laid it out plainly. "This team's been through a lot. I don't need someone to come in swinging, I need someone who knows how to rebuild trust." Leslie didn't flinch. "I read the file, I know what happened. Reading it and living it are different, I get that. My last store had its own version of this. Different details, same damage." He studied her face for a beat. "Why'd you apply for the transfer? Challenge, and a shot to prove I can lead without burning people out." That was good enough for him. Leslie started the following week. She didn't change the schedule for the first 10 days. Just observed, asked questions, took notes. Let the team show her how the place really ran. One afternoon, she pulled Clare aside between shifts. "I'm not here to take over, I'm here to make your job easier." Clare raised an eyebrow. "That right? You've been holding this place together." "I'm not ignoring that." Clare didn't offer a smile, but she gave a short nod. "Then we might be all right." By the end of the second week, small things had shifted. Leslie reintroduced a 15-minute overlap between shifts to allow for proper handoffs, an idea Clare had once suggested to Travis and been brushed off. She also reinstated paid meeting time, rather than expecting employees to stay late without compensation. Then one Friday evening, Darnell approached Leslie mid-shift. "Hey, that side cooler's been making a weird sound again. Clare said it was fixed, but it's doing the same thing it did last time before it broke." Leslie didn't hesitate. "Thanks for flagging it." "I'll call maintenance now," he blinked. "Just like that. You reported it, that's what matters." He walked away without saying anything else, but his shoulders looked lighter when he did. A month after Yarden's Undercover week ended, he returned to the store one last time, not to inspect. Not to intervene, just to see. The line was steady, the kitchen calm. Clare was walking a new trainee through the register. Leslie was reviewing inventory with Jenna. Darnell was wiping down tables without being asked. Yarden stood near the back, watching it all unfold. No one asked him what he was doing there. No one looked uncertain. They were busy working, focused, Capable, he stepped outside into the warm evening air and glanced back at the storefront. The sign hadn't changed, the brand hadn't changed, but the inside was different now, stronger. It hadn't happened because of policy or punishment. It had happened because someone listened, and then acted. As he walked to his car, he passed a mother and son approaching the entrance. The kid pointed inside and said something excitedly. The mother smiled and held the door open. Yarden kept walking, hands in his pockets, already thinking about the next store.